Smite Talk is proudly sponsored by SmiteShop.com. Go to SmiteShop.com to support your favorite gods and goddesses by purchasing and rocking a Smite t-shirt. 50% of all sales proceeds go to Child's Play charity. Check out SmiteShop.com today. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode of Smite Talk. And good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 19 of Smite Talk. My name is OctanePro, and I am joined by a special guest here, which doesn't get enough attention in the community, so I'm very happy to have him on tonight. We do have Hi-RezGavin, content producer for Hi-Rez Studios. How's it going, Gavin?
Hey, Octane, how you doing?
I'm doing
Thanks
good.
for having me.
Yeah, definitely. So those of you guys not familiar with the way Smite Talk works, Smite Talk is a 45-minute, hour-long show that like I know we have on a guest, and we go ahead from the community. Sometimes it can be a Hi-Rez employee. Sometimes it can be just a random community member as well. And we come on the show, we kind of build their bio, learn a little bit about them as well. And then we go ahead and just have an open discussion where you guys can call in, you guys can submit questions. So if you guys are interested in submitting any question to Gavin, I'll put the website directly in chat for you guys right now so we can start to get those questions coming in. Go ahead and go to ask.fm/OctanePro and go ahead and check that out. I would love to have you guys, check that out, ask.fm/OctanePro, and post your questions for Gavin. That would be awesome. So let's go ahead and take a look here. So we're going to start out with kind of, I like to call this part of the show, building the bio. And pretty much what we do is we just learn a little bit about our guest here. This time it will be Gavin. And let me turn you up here. People are like, he's too low. So we'll turn you up. There we go. So let's go ahead and get started here with learning a little bit more about Gavin. So growing up, Gavin, what video games did you play, and was there a particular genre that caught your eye?
Genre, not so much. I kind of just played really whatever my friends were playing. I liked adventure a little more. But I kind of account that to being a child. Like, I loved like the Zelda games, but that was like being a kid. You wanted to live that. So, I mean, I wouldn't say that wasn't my favorite genre, but that was the one I gravitated towards when I was younger.
Okay. Is there any specific games that like hey, these were like my top 3 adventure games growing up?
Banjo-Kazooie, Super Mario 64, and I mean, pretty much the classic. And then Legend of Zelda. They tied between Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time.
Yeah.
Those are they're like the standard N64 grown up with video games kind of games. But they held a special place for me and got me interested in video games at a young age. So that's that, and everything Star Wars. Every Star Wars game, I was all about that. Huge Star Wars nerd. So.
Interesting. That's pretty cool to know. And now, do you still keep that passion now as growing up? Like, you're still a huge Star Wars fan?
I don't know if you guys saw it, but HiRezGavin tweeted a picture of my new cubicle space, and to blur out my face, I used a X-Wing miniatures game box to blur my face.
Oh, look at you. That's pretty cool. Yeah, we saw some pictures posted by, I think, Nabil and Todd regarding the new expansion. Now, is that on the same level as everyone else, or is that like completely separate area?
It's right next door. It's attached. They did some altering to the office space, blew out the wall right by where Bart used to sit, and extended the studio quite significantly. So we have this nice new space. It looks really, really nice. A lot more what people would assume a game studio looks like. It's a lot more new age.
Oh yeah.
A lot less cubicle based.
Yeah.
So which is cool, because now when people come into the studio for tours and everything like that, they'll probably be shown more of that side, and they'll be like, oh man, this looks like exactly what I thought a game studio would look like.
Well, that's super cool. Yeah, some of you guys that didn't see the pictures, it was very, very cool. Everything it looked like new carpet and new paint, whatever. But then the cubicle, I guess you could call, they're not really cubicles, they're more like workspace. It's just broken into like 4 separate areas, it looks like. And the lighting looks very new age as well, and so it looks pretty cool.
It's so nice. Oh man, like in the support area where publishing used to be, which is what I'm the part of Hi-Rez that I'm part of.
Yeah.
The lights are off all the time, and as soon as the sun goes down, it's like pitch black back there. You feel like you're living in a little closet of Hi-Rez. So we moved from that to this new, like, incredibly well lit, really just like bright, very nice, very like. It's gonna be very hard to like fall asleep at that part of the studio, which is great because now, like, if I'm ever like tired, it doesn't feel like it's nap time all the time.
So it definitely sounds like you guys were in much need of this expansion. I don't want to explain it completely because I've never been there, never worked there, but what was the old layout like that you're so thrilled about the new layout? With the expansion.
I mean, the old layout wasn't. There was nothing really wrong with it.
Sure.
It was just, it was kind of like a standard office cubicle space kind of deal with a lot of like geeky. I mean, there was a lot of geeky desk swag on everyone's desk. that was the real way you could tell that it was a game studio. But now, like, it's got this much more open look. Nabil says he's got even bigger plans for it, like decorating the walls and everything like that. So I'm excited to see how it works out. We just moved in on Friday, so it's gonna be good.
Yeah, I think it's really exciting, especially to see you guys expanding your office space. It means you're hiring more people, which means the game's a success, and that you need these more staff members. So I think that
we haven't launched yet. So
that's right. You got some time. Yet. What are we looking at here? 23 days. Yes, 23 days. So
don't say that. That's scary.
Do you guys have a giant clock in your office? There's like a countdown, tick. That would be perfect. That would be.
No, there would be too many. There'd be too many mental breakdowns if that existed.
So talking a little bit more about Hi-Rez there. When did you start working for Hi-Rez Studios, and was that time period the first your introduction into the gaming industry, or how did that all work out for you?
Okay, so I started full time with Hi-Rez about a year and a half ago. But before that, I've in all, I've been working for Hi-Rez for about 4.5 years, because about 4.5 years ago, I started my very first summer internship with Hi-Rez. And I started over in marketing, helping out with graphic design, which is where my initial background was. And helping out the lead of marketing at that time. And just, seeing what I could do. And that was back when we were working on Global Agenda had just come out. We were working on the first expansion for that. It was a great experience for me. That internship was my first experience as an employee in the game industry. From there, I went back to college. I lived in Montreal. I did a few internships at Ubisoft Montreal, Eidos, and Behavior Studios. At the time, it was called Artificial Mind and Movement, but they realized that A2M, when searched in Google with the safe search off, was inappropriate, so they had to change it. So I had that experience, came back as a intern slash contract worker at Hi-Rez, on and off, helping out with conventions when I was at school, and then over the summers or during my breaks, I'd come back and work in marketing again. And then after I finished up my degree, which was in game production, actually, at Champlain College in Burlington, Vermont, I came in, got hired towards the end of the summer at Hi-Rez as a full-time employee, doing as an associate content producer, and I helped out with the streams. At that time, the only streams it was just Bart streaming whenever he could.
That's true.
And Nabil had this grand scheme to evolve this channel from Bart playing Tribes for 2 hours and then playing Smite for 2 hours to a 24-hour channel, which then turned into two 24-hour channels, which then turned into two 24 channels and a ton of international channels. And, now I'm doing, like, everything. Just everything that they possibly ask me, I do now. So that's why I think my job title is content producer. It's fitting because it's so generic that I kind of it fits everything that I can possibly do.
Okay, good to know there. And I was just going to ask about that. So, you said you do a little bit of everything, which is, the content producer's role. You can kind of stretch that into quite a bit there. Do you want to give us just kind of a day-to-day what it looks like for you? Like, hey, I get into the office, I do this, I have this meeting type of stuff. Like, how does your job look? So that people in the community can understand. Day
to day is kind of it's determined. I work on a kind of like a weekly basis unless things go nuts. I'm always on call for the streams. Okay. I'm constantly training my helper Tina or Hi-Rez, who's kind of like, I'm training her to do the streaming end of my job, to like handle all that. So it's constantly like, what can I have her working on? What can I teach her today? That kind of stuff. Doing like on the other end, doing data, making sure that all of our streams are healthy in the grand scheme of things, working on minor issues that our streamers might have, trying to fix those. And then alternatively, I'm also working on marketing, like images that you see that go out every now and then. I work with our Jay, who's our essentially our lead artist for marketing for that stuff. All of the Eventbrite ticket sales you saw for the 100K and Game Vid Expo, I set up all that stuff, and I manage all of the ticket sales for that stuff. So I do a lot of random and kind of weird stuff that doesn't really seem like it fits together, but that's kind of how all of us work at Hi-Rez generally. We all kind of take on and wear as many hats as possible. We try to pretend it's TF2 over there. It's just the more hats, the better.
Yeah, that's what it definitely sounds like. Just from other Hi-Rez employees we've had on the show, it definitely sounds as though you guys are a studio that's growing, but with the fact that you're growing so much, you are wearing a few hats in order to handle the growth at this point. It's not necessarily a company that's so large that like you have this task and that's all you do and that's all you're responsible for. So it's pretty cool. I mean, I guess it has its good and bad days when it comes to stress levels as well. So pretty cool to know there. Moving on from there, a question here. Did you now you said you came on and did a little bit with Global Agenda. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's where I started.
Okay, perfect. So I guess my question is here, what do you feel you and your team have learned from previous games published by Hi-Rez Studios like Tribes, Global Agenda, that you're looking at when making a game like Smite?
Well, from Global Agenda, personally, what I learned was that you can't please anyone. I helped Duke out a lot. With community, like he was the community manager at that time, and or not when I first started there, but the second internship when I came back, that's when Duke was there. And I helped him out with like community events and everything like that. And we did so many fun things. It just like we found that like what sounded like a perfect idea to some of us, like next day you'd log on to the forums and you'd see like 1,000 people were like, "This is the dumbest idea ever! Like, why would you give us free things?" It's oops, I guess I didn't think of free things being a bad thing. Sorry. But that's what I learned. I mean, from what we learned as a studio from Global Agenda and Tribes, I mean, it's all been said publicly by like Todd and Hi-Rez talking about, what we learned from like programming aspects, how to run servers, how to deal with, everyone logging in and everything like that. So I can't really speak on that, but I know personally I learned a lot about just dealing with community, a large group of community, trying to, improve myself in learning how to be, fit better at Hi-Rez and do, just make sure I do what they want and need.
Yeah, definitely good to know. I mean, people don't realize it, but as a publishing company, just from what I've learned with talking with a lot of people from Hi-Rez, it's just one of those things where you learn, you can apply that in life for a lot of things. You learn from your past, and I think that's something that you guys are applying moving forward with Smite. I mean, you're taking different approaches to things. You're releasing things in a different manner and stuff like that. So I can completely understand. I mean, I think it's always like a little touchy subject because of the way that people view tribes, stuff like that in the community, and how things went or are going and stuff. So, but I think from a community, I can at least say that everyone's very pleased with the way Smite has been going overall. So you guys, I guess, have learned something, and you guys are definitely are doing something right. So a question for you there is, if you were to explain Smite to a complete group of strangers who know nothing about video games, how would you explain it?
This is actually what I've been, where my mind's been at recently. I took a short hiatus from Smite. By short, I mean it was 6 months where I didn't play from home for other than like in-studio playtest. I recently picked it back up, realized that, okay, first off, I was terrible when I was playing, but I was even more terrible when I came back after that 6-month hiatus. So I started up a new account, which a lot of people would say is bad, but I was let's get this straight. I was so bad that starting up a new account, I was still losing a lot.
Okay.
So But I still like, since I watch the streams and I see all of our pro players play and everything like that,
Yeah.
I knew what I'm supposed to be doing. I just couldn't really deliver. So I noticed a lot of players that were new, even like from 1 to really level 20. And even then, even level 30s, people are still don't like know what to do and like how to play the game. So I've spent a lot of time just thinking about, how to better educate viewers, since we use kind of Smite game as a place to direct people to learn,
Yeah.
how we go about, educating new players on how to play, this game.
Yeah.
And I don't know how I would describe Smite. I always go with to a new person. I always go with the very easy, like, have you heard of League of Legends or Dota 2? Just because the popularity of those two games, you can't really ignore that, and it's just such an easy way to jump off. Then if they haven't, I go to the World of Warcraft PvP analogy, because that's such an easy one. And then if all else fails, the shooter analogy with all the skill shots. And that's generally how I go. I just kind of go from there. Well, it's like, oh, well, if it's League, it's like, oh, it's like that, except it's third person over the shoulder perspective, and everything's a skill shot. You're not going to be clicking everywhere. You're using WASD to move.
Yeah.
If it's World of Warcraft, I'm just like, World of Warcraft, take all of those 35 actions and turn them into 4 abilities, and then go from there.
Yeah.
And with shooters, it's just like, all right, so the movement you have, the skill shots you probably understand, and then you just kind of have to get into the 3 lanes, the minions don't dive towers, minions hurt, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I can understand that completely. So you said you do a lot with streamers and stuff like that, and there's a lot of the management side as well that you deal with managing Smite game and Smite Pro and all that stuff. But and you even talked about like how at one point you took a hiatus from Smite and not playing Smite for this the 6-month period type of deal. But there's a number of streamers out there in the Smite community. Are there any that's kind of like I guess you could say like guilty pleasure, where if they're streaming, you're definitely watching them, or if you're at home and you want to turn something on, you turn them on? Is there any individuals or channels out there that you enjoy?
I don't really like. I don't want to like go into picking favorites. I definitely have a few streamers out there that I always kind of like. I pop up. Usually it's at work. Like at home, I try to step back because I work some pretty long hours. I'm usually not leaving the office until 8 or 9 p.m.
Okay.
So usually at home, depending on my day, I'd say about 7 times out of 10, I disconnect myself from the internet and I just try to do some less social stuff and kind of become a hermit for the night. But at work, I'm always looking at new streamers.
Okay.
On those 3 times out of 10 when I am still in the mood for like checking out streams, I'm popping up like tons of new stream. Like it's usually I'm checking out new people who've got like a few viewers. I pop in. I have I think last time I counted 17 fake or like hidden secret accounts on Twitch that I kind of I use to kind of sneak around and watch you guys and talk to you and figure out if you got your heart in the streaming. I'm always looking for new streamers, especially now I'm looking for EU streamers, by the way, because Zerpelperg, his last day was on this past Friday, so the 4 a.m. to 7 a.m. time slot's open. So any of you EU guys, send a message to Hi-Rez Help, because we have a new process for applying for that spot. So get on, send in them applications, guys.
All right, you heard it here first, and that's actually a good question. A lot of people are always asking, hey, I want to stream on Smite game. What do I have to do? And I think the generic answer of you have to apply isn't really going to work. What as a streamer would you recommend for someone that's hoping to at some point be a streamer on Smite game? What are some things, because as you said, you've been around for a while, you've dealt with all the streaming, the scheduling, everything. What recommendations can you give to people that are looking to someday be on Smite game or Smite Pro?
All right, so we actually just this past week, Tina and I sat down and talked about a kind of a formal application that needs to be sent in and what the requirements are. So this is actually really fresh in mind.
Perfect.
It is a Smite game. This Smite game is not what it used to be anymore. We are kind of a more premium-esque of the Smite streams.
Okay.
So we require a 500-hour minimum of streaming experience.
Okay.
And that is not Smite streaming. It's just 500 hours across all streaming. So you can't be new. We're not looking for newbies anymore. We're looking for people who know what they're doing. I believe 15-hour a week minimum of streaming Smite on average.
Okay.
And or 30 hours a week of streaming anything.
Okay.
That's not just the 5-day work week. That's the 7 days, 7-day full week.
Okay.
So if you average about 15 hours, that's 3 hours a day roughly if you stream only during the work days. And that's just because that's what's required for Smite game. You need to be able to stream 3 hours every day on the workday. And if I don't know that you can do that, I can't take the risk that you're just not going to show up or burn out 2 days later.
Yeah, that's true.
We also require, I also require a formal resume, but it's more of a streamer resume. So it's kind of like a bio on you as a streamer, talking about your channel, letting me know, like, have you hosted any events? Have you taken part in a charity event? Have you done anything special on your channel? Do you do giveaways? Just a general understanding so we can understand the kind of heart of your channel. And then, and on top of that is just kind of like talking about when you started streaming and all that. So because we're kind of looking at streaming our streamers now as this is more of a job because we're paying in huge amounts of gems.
Sure.
To start, everyone asks, like, you get paid? It's like, well, everyone gets paid in some way.
Yeah.
Our starting streamers always start off on gem payments.
Sure.
And eventually, a lot of our streamers just turn into a, if you ask for gems, you get them once you've streamed enough. So if you're really into Smite and you're really into the community, it's a really good way to save some money and give back to the community while getting like all of the skins you could ever dream of.
Well, that's definitely good to know. I mean, I can tell people from my experience, like Gavin definitely speaks the truth. Like they're looking for premier streamers. Like they're not just looking for any Joe Schmo off the street to come in and be like, hey, I'm going to start streaming tomorrow. Can I be on Smite Game? It's like, why? You haven't proved anything. You've been around for how long, type of deal.
I mean, I want to give those people the chance more. Yep. That's why I sneak around and check you guys out because occasionally, there's a newbie who he just shows up and he's just great.
Sure.
And I like to think that I see a lot of them.
Yeah.
And then it's as simple as I don't have to do anything for them directly.
Yeah.
I just casually be like, mention to one of my coworkers, hey, have you checked this person out? And then,
Sure.
maybe it's Kelly and she's like, oh man, let's get together and do something community, or it's Bart because they're shoutcaster and Bart is like, hey, let's talk shoutcasting in the future. So, but I'm always watching you guys, trying to do the best I can to catch any of you new guys, give you some support, and ideally, my weekend schedule for Smite Game is still up in the air and it will probably be until launch when we hammer some things out. Okay. But ideally, we would love to do a community segment where we vet a community, like a streamer that we know of. They're not brand new, but they don't have the the full experience required to be a full-time streamer. Sure. And just give them a chance. Of course, there will be a huge vetting process that we'll have to go through.
Just a little
because
bit.
we're kind of paranoid about our streamers.
Sure.
And we have to be because
they represent the brand.
They represent the brand, and like it's beyond that. We want you guys to be able to enjoy Smite Game, and we want a streamer for everyone. And if we find out that this person, we bring someone on and they're just like, they make everyone uneasy. Sure. That's on me, and I don't want to let that happen.
Yeah. No, I completely understand that. I mean, I think it's you talk about gems there, like, oh, hey, it's pretty much like the work for gems type of style, and it works out really, really well, folks. Like, it's not a horrible thing. Like, when I was streaming, and I think we calculated out about $750 to $800 I'd spent on gems over like a 1.5-year period. And finally, as Gavin said, like, it's truthful. Like, I was able to go to Gavin and be like, hey, like, I put out this much in giveaways. Is there any way Hi-Rez can help me with it? And when we started to talk about Smite Game and stuff, and Hi-Rez is very helpful with that stuff. So it's not something that I'm putting out day in and day out. So pretty cool to hear. So I guess It's very good, actually. We got a chance to talk a little bit about Smite game and how people can apply and some of the things that are required and stuff like that, because I think that's super important. Without a doubt. Moving on to our last question here, and then we'll go ahead and take questions from the community. We'll also take questions via raid call as well. So if you guys want to join up in raid call, the raid call information is directly below my video screen. Download raid call, put in that ID number, and come join us. It would be awesome. And you'll hang out in the lobby, and then I'll double check that you're there, and I'll pull you in when we're ready. So let's see. Last question here, which I like to ask this one to everyone because it's interesting, the different approaches that each guest give. There have been several new mechanics added to Smite over the last year or so that have reshaped the game. Which one do you feel is the most significant? Still with me, Gavin?
Oh yeah, sorry.
That's okay.
I was just reading through chat.
That's okay. That's okay. It's the chat. It's the chat trolls. It's all good. So the question is, there have been several new mechanics added to Smite over the last year that have reshaped the game. Which one do you feel is the most significant mechanic added?
Hold on, let me get a troll face on here. Focus.
Oh yeah, right.
Focus.
It came and it went. Yeah, focus. I think someone brought up focus before. Some people have said like cripple. Cripple's been a big one that people have said, or global ultimate, stuff like that. So yeah, what do you mean? You didn't like focus? I don't understand.
No, I mean honestly, I think we just needed to spend more time with focus. But the reason I bring that up is because it goes back to what I was saying about you can't please everyone.
Yeah.
And I think focus was a good learning experience for us, even when we put it in and took it back out, because it was a way that we were shaking things up, and okay. I think that's good. Like when people were always like, "Oh, the game's not really in beta. Everyone can play it and buy it whenever they want." Sure. It's like, no, it's still beta. We're testing things out like crazy, and we can change. Like we use this opportunity still to just completely shake things up whenever we possibly can, and that's good. I mean, like, yes, it kind of a lot of people will say, "Oh, it hurts all the current players," but it hurts the game overall. Mm-hmm. Or sorry, helps the game overall. Where we're learning from the experience, we're learning how the community reacts to it, and we're learning how big changes influence the meta of the game as a whole. Because sometimes a minor change can change things entirely. Yeah. But in a major change can have a very small effect on how everyone plays. So it was cool to see that we were playing around with it, to see, to test the limits of what we could do with the game and essentially what we could get away with. And I love to see that. That's what developers should be doing in a beta.
Yeah, no, and I think it's very, I like the way you ended it in a beta, because that's super important. Like, that's the time for you guys to experiment with these different things, like stats, with focus, with some of the abilities, or some of the branching off on some of the items as well. So I think it's definitely a good time to mess with that, and you're doing your job, you're messing around with it, so completely understandable. Let's go ahead, guys. We're taking questions from ask.fm /OctanePro. I'll post it in chat, and also we're going to bring some people in and raid call here in a minute. But let's go ahead and take a look to see what questions have been submitted here. And here's a good one. Someone asked, what has Gavin explicitly made or done in Smite so that they can help to identify you? So what are just a few things? I mean, it's not like you're not a designer, so you're not going to say, "Hey, I made this god" type of deal. But what are some things that you can take credit for?
I can take credit for a lot of the late night day before night of the patch patch tests, where I held. A lot of the times those play tests don't get started until really, really late. Wow. Just as a last minute thing, and I'd try my best to stay those nights to help out, just to add another body. Yeah. So I'm there to make sure that when those patches that get pushed off a day, chances are I and a few other guys were there play testing a very broken patch. Yep. and helping our QA guys convince the producers to hold off on pushing it out broken for you guys. Okay. So every time you guys get a little angry about the missing a patch being pushed back a day, just know it's worth it. It's always worth it.
That's right. Oh, that's pretty good.
I mean, all that credit doesn't go to me, of course. Not even a tiny bit, maybe a fraction.
Okay.
But that is a team effort, and I try my best to stay late to help out as much as I can on those nights.
Okay.
I guess you can say the growth of what used to be Hi-Rez Studios channel to Smite game.
Yeah.
Smite Pro. Getting you on here, I'm gonna say it. I'm taking credit for that, Octane. I'm taking that.
That's right.
You did all the work. You put in the effort. You made the shows what they should be, and I gave it the wanton disregard of the high ups by just putting it on without getting permission first. Putting my ass out there. I mean, it wasn't really you put out some good content, so I can say that was a safe bet for me.
Yeah, right. I remember when Gavin approached me the first time. I was like, hey, we want to do X, Y, and Z. And so, yes, Gavin has taken credit. Can take credit for the Smite shows here on Sunday, without a doubt. If you guys remember Gavin for anything in the history of Smite, you could give him credit.
Yeah, there.
There you go. So, a more casual question. What's your favorite god in Smite right now?
I'm more of a warrior player.
Okay. Well, you can't say Nemesis then, because Nemesis definitely is not a warrior.
Yeah, I know. I was so excited when they told me about it being her being warrior.
Yep.
And then kind of disappointed when she turned to be out to not play at all like one.
Yeah.
I love Odin. I've loved Odin since Alpha. Even through all this visual changes, he's fun. Always I love him when he's really, really powerful. Like when he goes through those where he's not played at all, and then where he's just a monster.
Yeah.
I love it when he's a monster. But I mean, so anyway, everyone loves playing an OP character. So, but I used to like Chalk. I don't like playing Chalk as much as I used to. I really like Vamana. I always have, even when he's not that strong. I've really enjoyed Vamana. Let me think.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess Odin and Vamana are really my top two right now.
Okay. So when I come down there at the end of the month and I need to bring you a T-shirt, I'm gonna bring you an Odin one. Is that what it sounds like?
Oh, that sounds too good.
Awesome. We'll take one more question, then we're gonna bring in Lucent Horse, who is patiently waiting in raid call there. Somebody says, how much fun is it working for Hi-Rez? Looking at other jobs you've had in the past.
I love working at Hi-Rez. I really can't stress this enough. Okay, first off, you see, I'm in my room right now. I live with 3 other Hi-Rez employees. we live in a house. It's not like it wasn't. I mean, yes, rent is awesome, but the guys that I'm living with, I consider close friends.
Okay.
I love working at Hi-Rez. The people there are some of the most talented people I've ever seen in the industry. Okay. Like I said, I had some short times at Ubi, Eidos, and Behavior. Those guys were great, but honestly, I can't say they stand up to the people at Hi-Rez. They put in everything. They kick ass. They take names. They're a blast to hang out with on the weekends and to go out and have fun with. It's truly a pleasure to work at Hi-Rez because of the people at Hi-Rez that make the studio.
Okay, that's a very good answer, actually. So let's go ahead and bring in Lucent Horse. Lucent Horse, how's it going, man? Are you with us tonight?
I am. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Welcome to Smite Talks. What do you want to talk about?
Well, just watching more recently here. Gavin say that he likes to play warriors, kind of already defeated my troll abilities.
Well, with the Nemesis comment?
No. What have I asked you the past 2 weeks?
I don't know. Remind me. What do you want to talk about?
So Ymir?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So what question do you have tonight?
Let's see. So I guess the first thing I'd like to talk about is the VGS system.
Okay.
I called in a few weeks ago and I asked this question. We talked about stuff, and but this is something else that came to mind right after I got off with you guys, and I was just like, why did I not ask this? We had additions to the VGS system, not too long ago.
Yeah.
And I was just kind of curious. Do you think there might have been some, or do you think there's more that you'd like to see put into the VGS system, additional add-ons in the future? Because there's a few. I do love the ones they put in. though I kind of wish that there was more that were put in.
Yeah. Well, sure. I'll throw that over to Gavin. What are your thoughts on the VGS system, and do you think we need more? What do you think?
Well, I know when we announced the voice actor callback that we announced in that was going to be the last callback that we do.
Okay.
We have gone back on that stuff. I mean, honestly, the game's growing so much, like we can't really make those definitive statements and expect them to last all of time.
Yeah.
So who knows? We may do that. That does not mean though that we may not add more VGS commands because I mean, like if you haven't noticed, before we got the actors or the voice actors in there, we had the generic voices just say the commands.
Yes.
Right.
So who knows? I guess if I always say this, and it's if the community outcries and like absolutely desires a few voice commands, I imagine if they are put forth in a logical way that makes sense, we will probably.
It'll pop back
down.
It'll pop back
okay,
up.
it's back up.
I
Okay.
made an adjustment. All right. So anyway, guys, we're back.
Cool.
Sorry about the interruption there. We were talking about the VGS system, and Gavin was talking a little bit about just how he's bad at using it. But I was going to comment there, and I was going to comment there and just kind of say that. I feel like the VGS system is getting too large. Like when you go into the VGS system, it shouldn't be intimidating. And when you first hit V, you have so many choices. And then when you click like, VV again, there's so many choices. I feel like VGS system, to me at least, is supposed to be a basic communication system. But when you get lost in the VGS system because there's so many options, I think it's too much. So to me, honestly, you had said, are we hoping to see more? I actually would hope to see less. But that's just my thoughts.
Okay.
Interesting.
I do. I just kind of like to elaborate on that. I mean, I kind of see where you're coming from because, like, I'm thinking that you bring that up and it makes sense because I've tried to learn new ones and I'm like, where would this be?
Yeah.
I can see where you're talking about. I mean, like some of the ones come to mind for me at least would be like tanking something, say tank it like a tower or buff or something like that. Or reset it, same idea, reset like a buff or something like that. One that I wish we had for 3v3s, and that's pretty much it, is like something, it's along the lines of hide. Because I don't know if you've noticed anything about 3v3s in the tournaments,
beginning?
but everybody's hiding. We're like, please don't see us.
You're talking about in the beginning when you're trying to get a strategic advantage over your opponent. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I mean, that one I just thought of, one day I was like, oh, that would be awesome.
Sure.
Because I had to tell people so many times. But anyways, also something like using God's name for the VGS. So like you're trying to tell one person specifically something to do.
Yeah.
At least that's just something that comes to my mind.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, though, once you get into that, I mean, look how many gods there are, and all of a sudden, I just talked about how many options there are. All of a sudden, you have to have like 40 plus more, and it's like, my word, like you have to remember, like it's not supposed to take the place of a full like voice system. You do have in-game chat type of deal. It's probably gonna be faster to type out, Zeus go tank right tower compared to trying to do it with the keys. So I think there's a few.
I completely agree with you.
Yeah, well, the thing I thought about that would be, you have gods, the ally gods, have 1 through 4 for your ally gods, so that, whatever it is you want them to do, you have like 1 through 4 depending on who the god is.
Sure.
That was just my thought around that, because I did think of the same thing. It was like, that's kind of complicated. So the only other thing that really comes to my mind right now is... do you think there'd be any sort of... I feel like this would be like really weird. I'm not sure how it would work per se, but having like some sort of elemental balance sort of thing. So say, you have fire versus water. Water be more powerful over fire sort of thing.
I see what you mean.
I know
you're talking about like a Hebo over an Agni because of the water and fire.
Wait, hold on. Wait, are you suggesting we add another area to unbalance Smite?
Maybe.
Like of all the things, this is I just find this funny because everyone is always like, oh man, I really wish they balanced this better or balanced that better, blah blah blah. I mean, it's the same complaints for every game that has a competitive scene and requires multiple characters with different abilities going up against each other. Like the fewer things we have to balance, the better.
That's true.
Yeah. I mean, hey, just try and make Nuwa viable. I mean, she wouldn't have any weaknesses at that point. That's all offense.
Well, it would be like it would be. Could you just imagine? Because there would be just one. There would be like one element that was like for some reason was always better than everyone, and then we'd see for like a patch where every god in a competitive team is a water god. It was like 2 water-based teams just because they have the fewest weaknesses. And then, all of a sudden we've turned into Smite Pokemon. It's super
Yes, that's very true. That's very true.
Yes.
I think you guys are just watching too much Pokemon on Twitch in your office right now.
Well, I mean, Twitch plays Pokemon.
That's right.
I mean...
That's right. Well, Lucid, thank you very much for coming on. We're going to go ahead and bring on another caller, but thanks again for calling in.
As always. Yeah, as always, thank you for having me. Have a great night, guys.
Take care. All right, so we're going to take one more question from the ask.fm site, and then we'll kind of move on from there. Let's see. Do you play any card games? Is a question from chat.
Oh, me? Oh, God. Okay, I'm a huge nerd. Let's just talk about how nerdy I am. Okay. This weekend was games day for Magic. I did that with my roommate Austin, who's a big Magic player. He's the support guy.
Okay.
I also play Warhammer 40K, who I play with HiRezGavin, who is also a huge nerd.
Okay.
I also play X-Wing miniatures game because I'm a mega nerd.
Wow, so you're all over the board.
Like seriously, I like to think of it as I'm a lifetime gamer. I am a true to gaming in its sense of not just video games, not just sports, just every kind of gaming I enjoy. Like, I'm not a huge sports person. I fenced a lot when I was younger, so I'm into the weirder, I guess, sports. Okay. But I've always enjoyed the whole aspect of gaming at its core, where I like gaming enough where I can see any type of game in any kind of any medium of game, if it has a good to it, and truly enjoy it. And some of those, they're just so much fun to play with friends. I love the face-to-face experience of tabletop games. Yeah. I love the wide social experience of online games because you get to play people who you'd never get a chance to play online. So yeah, I honestly love all kinds of games. So I play all kinds of games.
Okay. I can say that I've never played Magic before. Not that it hasn't been interesting, but I've never played it. But I do like to play Hearthstone. It's a card game, kinda. To you, it's probably
I'm bad at that as well.
You're bad at that as well. Yeah, Hearthstone's a lot of fun. I like to play it just here and there when I have a little bit of free time.
I actually truly enjoy watching Hearthstone. Okay. I do not. I played a lot of it. Didn't really enjoy playing it as much as I enjoyed watching it. I enjoy watching people who are really good at it play. I think it's relaxing because it's really simple. Yeah. And honestly, if there's a few game bars in Atlanta, and if they had like a Hearthstone night where they just had Hearthstone, like a Hearthstone tournament up, I'd be so down for having a few brews and watching a Hearthstone tournament.
Let's make it happen. I'll be down there. I'll be down there a week. Let's make it happen. Because that week there's gonna be so much free time. So much free time, Gavin.
Oh yeah. Let's get into that.
Yeah, right. All right, let's go ahead and bring Buddha in. And Buddha, welcome to Smite Talk. How's it going, sir?
Pretty good. One moment. Got to mute.
Okay, no problem. Take your time. Better you do that than we hear an echo the whole time. So thank you.
Oh, I got a headset on. We're good for there.
All right. So what do you want to talk about tonight?
Gavin, you mentioned you started at Hi-Rez being a summer intern. Does Hi-Rez still do internships? And if so, what skills are looked for when looking for an intern, and what are some requirements for said internships?
Good question.
Okay, so we don't, not that I know of, this may change this upcoming summer, but I don't think we do postings for internships, but that should not stop you from submitting your resume for an internship. Just make sure it's clear that when you're submitting it, you're interested in a summer internship. I know this past summer we had quite a few interns. A lot of them ended up doing QA stuff. Some of them helped out in the video department. But we do, I think a lot of our artists, if you're starting as an artist at Hi-Rez, most of the time you start out, like if you're new to the industry, you're usually starting off as an intern. And then, where they get to test you out and see if you got what it takes. For programmers, I've heard whispers. I've never seen a programming intern, but I've heard whispers of them wanting to try one out. But I guess we'd have to see if someone submitted that resume. I know marketing has interns. QA is always looking for summer interns. So if you're interested in doing an internship at Hi-Rez, I would say submit it. I would say that for every game studio, whether or not they have it up or not, submit a just send an email to their wherever their careers services are on their website and be like, hey, I'm interested in a internship over the summer at your studio. Here's what I do. Here's my resume, and just cast a wide net, see what you can get.
There you go.
Okay.
Awesome. What other questions you got?
Well, as another question I had on here was, as a small-time streamer and as a part of the Smite community at large, what can we do aside from word of mouth to promote and help the Smite scene?
Good question.
Also, what are some third-party content stuff that you're looking forward to see from the community?
Well, I'd say consistency is key. So continue doing it. Don't get disheartened if you have a bad viewer day or week. Honestly, all the people who I've seen that are now big streamers, they all started out with pretty much no viewers. And they just stuck with it because they truly enjoyed the game. And now there are days when they have more viewers than Smite Game. So, and that's what we want. Smite Game is supposed to be the rock for Smite broadcasting. We'll always be there for you guys to have something, and that way. But we don't expect to be the top tier. When after launch, I can see Tier Monster being having significantly higher viewership than us on a daily basis, and then some of the pro players getting thousands more viewers than us, and then whenever, let's say, Octane breaks off and does his own show and is just has a channel for his show, I could see that once the game gets much bigger.
I'm out, Buddha. I'm out.
Wait,
I can see that taking off and being
Octane's
huge.
Hi-Rez before he gets to Hi-Rez?
What's that?
I said Octane's leaving Hi-Rez and Smite Game before he even gets to Hi-Rez?
That's right. That's the goal.
He gets bigger than it.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. I'm sorry, Gavin. I did interrupt you. Please continue.
But yeah, you just have to stick with it, because all the streamers that are big now, and remember, they just had a head start on you guys. Yeah. They've just been playing longer and have stuck with it more, and experience, whether you think you're getting better or not. I'm watching you guys, and there are people I've watched that when you first started, some of them that were like, oh my god, this guy needs some work. And then I come back and I'm 4 months later, I'm like, oh wow, this guy's still doing it. I'm gonna check it out, see what's going on. Check it out, and it's night and day. It goes from being oh, I haven't not reading chat, kind of mumbling whenever he talks, and then all of a sudden, really good speaking voice, looking directly in the camera when they're answering questions, all this crazy stuff. And it's wow, just 4 months, and they just stuck with it, and they just learned from watching other streamers, or just interacting and trying to become better. If you do this as a hobby, I honestly think that's the best thing you can do, because as long as you are enjoying yourself, you pace it at the way you want to pace it, you're always going to improve yourself, because you have that, it's your hobby. You're going to want to do it. Yeah. Job, you don't have to force yourself to do it on a bad day and be like, oh, I'm having a bad day, I'm gonna take a day off, come back with a fresh a fresh start tomorrow, and boom, it's all better.
Okay, what other questions you got, Buddha?
I was forming another question, but it's only a statement at the moment, and it's not really a statement actually leading into anything yet. So I think that's it. Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you very much for coming on. Do appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for your questions.
Thank
you. All right, good deal. How you look for time? You okay for time?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay, I just want to make sure. I want to make sure without a doubt. Let's see. Someone had asked about. Someone said this is off the Ask.fm. Let's see. You had touched on this before, but I think it's good. Someone asked, who's going to replace Zerpal's time slot? And I think earlier you had said you're still looking for people. Is that correct?
That is indeed correct. I believe SNK told me he was interested in covering that time slot for a little while.
Yeah.
I don't know how on earth why he wants to do that, because I know he's from the United States.
Wow.
So that's probably gonna. So he's a trooper for being willing to cover that. I have to talk to him about that still.
Sure.
But yeah, we're gonna be over the next few weeks. We're gonna be testing out some people. Whether that's on Smite Game or not, it'll most likely just be interviews with me and HiRezGavin.
Okay, sure. Definitely good to know there. Let's go ahead and bring in our next caller here. Glorious Toast, welcome to Smite Talk. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Excellent.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. You sound great. So what do you want to talk about today?
Okay, I want to say hi to both of you. This is the second time I'm here.
Oh,
so
hi.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that. I'm sorry.
Woo. Sarcasm.
Yeah, right?
Okay, so first thing that I want to ask about, okay, Neith, among other gods, have global ultimates.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know about Carvis from League of Legends?
I do not. I don't play League of Legends, but maybe Gavin does.
And no, I don't. I'm bad at.
Okay.
I'm bad
Tell
at
us-
Smite
tell
and
us
even
about-
worse at all the others.
Tell us about that god so
So-
we can understand.
Carvis is a champion from League of Legends.
Okay.
He's a really dickish champion because his ult is
Wait,
I
no,
can't-
all of a sudden I know who you're talking about. Okay. Yes, his ult is the one that just damages everyone. It's like Zeus from Dota 2.
yeah. So just like, okay, you're running away from me at low health. You're dead now because I'm gonna ult win you in 7 seconds.
Yeah.
Do
Okay.
you think there would be a god like that in
In Smite.
Smite?
I
don't
personally.
know.
Yeah, go ahead, Gavin. You can take it first.
Yeah, I'm gonna say like we like trying out new things. We like also making sure that we have some familiarity in Smite. A lot of people, when we first came out, they're like, "Oh my god, you're just duplicating all the other MOBAs."
Yep.
But you have to understand, like, that is for people who come from those games. Like, all MOBAs do that intentionally,
Yep.
so that if you're coming from another MOBA, you can pick up a god in our case and be like, "Oh my god, this reminds me of my favorite character in this game," or "This is similar to this one, and I know how to play this."
Yeah.
I'm gonna try this out because familiarity makes you feel comfortable. So you have to have a little bit of that in all games of the same genre, so that if you're trying to, if we're trying to, pull some League players and Dota players over, we can potentially do that.
Sure.
So, but we also like to try to innovate with a few things. So I don't know. It's up to the designers, I guess. Would be my final statement on that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping to see more and more global ultimates moving forward. I think they definitely play some cool aspects. I mean, a global ultimate that can affect the entire map. The map shakes in some way that does damage or something like that all the way. I mean, I just think there's so many opportunities out there for Hi-Rez and the designers to come up with cool ideas. Like, as I talked about before, it was a big moment when Thor was able to go up into the air, and then followed by that was Apollo, and then kind of Athena, but she doesn't really go up in the air. If you ever notice spectator mode, she actually teleports right to that person. But yeah, the idea of gods being able to make these huge changes globally, I think, are a really cool idea, and I'm hoping to see more and more of them. So what other questions do you have?
Still going the same point, but I also like to see an ultimate similar to Jinx in League of Legends,
Okay.
like the ultimate global skill shot.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I was honestly a little disappointed when Neith's ability wasn't a skill shot. Like that ult went through a lot of a few iterations.
Okay.
A lot of them were different. I can't really give you specifics, unfortunately,
Sure.
I can say at one point it was skill shot, and that was back when she had I feel like she had 1,000 more weaves on the map at all times. So and her ult worked a lot differently at that time as well. But I loved it when it was a skill shot. I thought that was so cool, being able to snipe from across the map and be to land that would just feel so good. Be like, ha ha!
Yeah.
You just hit your spawn and you're dead. But I'd love to see something like that, something global and skill shot oriented, like where you actually have to aim it doesn't lock onto someone. I think that would be awesome.
Yeah. No, I think that's what sets Smite apart on a lot of these things too, is the skill shot over just auto locking. So that's a good point. What else do you have, Glorious Toast?
Okay, so this is my final question.
Sure, go for it.
In games like there's like Team Fortress 2, and League of Legends, they have like a beta server where they have patches already on the game before they were being released to public. Would Smite ever happen to that? Like that happened to Smite?
We had that. We had the public test available. That was around the time of Focus.
Yeah.
And we rolled out patches about a week or a few days early to this server, and only a few. You had to sign up for it. I guess opt in to it. But then we kind of realized that was a beta for a beta, and that was getting a little too meta. So we realized, this is a beta. The patches that are going out, sometimes there's going to be a few bugs, and we need you guys to help test that. It's a beta. We do rely on your feedback and your testing to go forward in beta. After launch, I don't know about right after it, but I don't know. That is up to our executive producer and to do and the rest of the high ups to decide if that is something that they want to do going forward.
Yeah, Glorious Toast, I think it's a great idea. Once the game launches, I think there's a huge need for it, and I think we have the player base now to support it. And I think it'd be really cool just to have it completely open. Like, you can go on Hi-Rez's site, you download a separate client, and you go ahead and you can play the test anytime you want. And it always has that. So I think it's a good idea, and I think it's necessary moving forward. So hopefully we'll see it. Any other questions or comments you have, sir?
So the very last question, Gavin, have you played Silo yet?
No, I have not. What is this? I've not heard of it.
I love it. I love it how like chat is trying to set up to find out like, okay, well, what are the details on the next God that Stu announced to be coming out this next week? I love it.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Very good answer. Very good answer. Well, Glorious...
I never said if like what he is. I just said, have you played it?
No, I actually haven't gotten into it. Like the past 2 weeks have been like just ridiculously busy. So. By the way, Smite game Espanol coming out next week, so look forward to that. That was last week for me, so
that'll be cool.
But yeah, I look forward to. I saw her on Friday.
Okay.
Can't say anything other than that. Other than she's cool. She's cool.
Okay.
She's very cool.
Okay. Well, good to know. Well, Glorious Toast, thanks for coming on tonight. I do appreciate you calling back in.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. All right. Let's go ahead. We'll take another question here. Well, it's just a few quick ones. Do you ever stream yourself? Like, do you have your own stream or no?
I do, but it's mostly tabletop games, and occasionally like Starbound or something. Like it's what I stream. It's usually with me and my roommates, and we're either playing a game together, or sometimes it's with my college buddies. Katixia being one, I think I saw her in chat, but I stream with her sometimes. Okay. Also, tabletop games, I do that every now and then, but it's mostly really nerdy, and like it's usually like me and like 2 viewers. Okay. Like I'm not. It's just I mostly stream just to get the VOD. It's like a really lazy way of recording video.
That is very true. Well, now you should be happy that OBS and XSplit do have record locally, so I think you'll be okay.
Oh yeah, I've actually, that's probably why you haven't seen me in the past. Actually, we just recorded some. We're starting up a Smite House YouTube.
Oh, nice, nice.
So it's just like something that Parker, who's currently Hi-Rez Parker, who's currently in China right now. Okay. It's a little brainchild of his own. We have 4 Hi-Rez employees in the house. He wants to do some content with that. So I've just been filming essentially B-roll of all the goofy stuff we do in the house for him while he's gone. Yeah,
that's pretty cool. Chat wants to know if you could provide a link for your channel. So if you could put that
you can click my name. I'm not going to link it, but you can click my name in chat and then go to my channel. So I'm going to say hi.
Check it out. Check it out. Another lovely person in Ask.fm wants to know, are you single and available? I think they're talking about your dating status just a little bit.
That's a really strange question.
I didn't expect you to answer it. Trust me. I didn't expect you to answer it.
It's a really strange question.
All right. Let's take one more, and then we'll jump into our raid call. Next little question here. Let's see. You get lots of compliments, I will say, off of like the Ask.fms. Like some people are like, Gavin is way too attractive to be a nerd and stuff like that. I've seen a few of those. So
that's really funny because I get the opposite for the art show.
Oh, really?
Like they don't even see me, and I get some of the meanest stuff coming into me. They're like, Gavin, why are you such fail? It's like, thanks, guys.
Okay. Well, you're involved with the art show. That's a good point there. Do you have any art background or any, someone says art skill for the art show when you're involved with that?
I do. I paint, but physically paint. I don't have, like, I do graphic design digitally. Okay. My digital painting skills are, once were pretty good. I was really into animation when I was in high school and early college. It's been years now since I've done that. I'm looking into actually getting an Intuos tablet. Okay. So I can improve both my graphic design and all my marketing imagery for Hi-Rez. Okay. And potentially just, in my free time doing a little bit of digital painting and artwork. I play 40K as well, so I paint all my minis because I'm a nerd and I have to.
That's funny. I didn't even know about 40K until I watched, I think it was... Jeff Robinson from Evil Geniuses in Control, who's huge into 40K and promotes it a ton, and he's painting his on stream all the time and stuff like that. So that's why.
I've watched I watched the what is it, the Behavior Studios guys. They do a. By the way, Behavior Studios wasn't into 40K until after I left. I was so pissed. I would have been so exciting to be there when they were. But yeah, they stream the role-playing game Dark Heresy, which is set in the 40K universe and everything. I watch all that stuff. It's fun. I'm a huge... I really can't stress how much of a nerd I am. It's a little too much.
Okay. Let's go ahead and bring in another caller here. Civic. Let's see. Civic, welcome to Smite Talk. How's it going, sir? Or ma'am? Are you with me?
It's going pretty good, thank you. Yeah.
Good. So what do you want to talk about today?
As someone who's played several MOBAs, I've always been interested in non-mana style champs.
Sure.
And I was wondering if Hi-Rez would ever implement a god that never used mana.
That's a good question. So any information you can give us overall just about that?
I would never write off any ideas as like, oh, Hi-Rez will never do this, because even back in Alpha when we said we weren't going to do a bunch of things, we ended up doing them.
Okay.
And honestly, I think they were for the better. Like, we originally came out and said, oh, we will never have a global ultimate in Smite, and then boom, global ultimates. But I honestly think it makes the game more interesting to have the different aspects in them. We should never limit ourselves. So I wouldn't, while I don't know anything, like if our designers are thinking about adding something like that, sure. I wouldn't rule it out as saying that they will never do that or that they definitely will. So who knows?
Oh, good question. What other question do you have?
I was a big time fan of the domination game mode. Back when they had it, I would solo one side as Vulcan and just sit there the whole game, and it would stay out for 40 minutes, and it was always a lot of fun to do it with my friends. Do you think that's ever going to become a normal queue again?
Domination, I know we have plans for... so Domination was not... While it was fun for the people who knew how to play it, it was not delivering the kind of gameplay that we intended it to. Okay. So I believe we have it somewhere on the agenda to be working on Domination. I don't know how far or if this is even going to happen because, like I said, I'm not a developer, so I don't know if anything that I've heard is actually going to happen or when it will. But I believe, from what I understood when the announcement when they took it down was that we are going to keep it on the back burner and play around with it in the future to bring it to potentially what we envisioned it to be when we initially released it.
Okay, well, that's good to know. I'm happy to hear that. What other question do you have?
One other thing.
Sure.
Half of the gods in Smite are assassins and mages. Do you ever think we're going to get like 5 or 6 gods in a row that are like just hunters or just warriors or...
I don't know about we like to stagger like our I don't think it's really rare that we get 2 of the same roles in a row. It makes, because honestly, if we do that, like, if someone who really, they don't play mages, we get 2 mages in a row, that's 2 releases that they, they just feel left out of, unless they get, whatever character they play gets a huge buff at the same time. But, so we like to stagger our releases like that. But, we're always looking to balance out our pantheons and our classes as best we can. So whenever we realize like, oh God, we haven't done a guardian in forever, we should do that. Then you'll get some you'll see a lot more emphasis on guardians, and that's just an example that can be for any role. Like, oh man, we haven't released this role in forever. We need to get on it right now. Like, but yeah, I think you see so many assassins and mages just because that's so many people like to play them. They're widely loved by so many people.
Sure.
And they're really good for new players to pick up because they, everyone likes to feel like when you pick up a new game, feel like a god and actually, do that damage. Be like, oh, I'm pumping out so much damage. I really do feel like I'm raw. Like, oh, I just sniped someone. Ooh.
Yeah.
That's just like what we're looking for new players.
Okay. Any other questions that you have?
Nope, that's all.
All right, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. All right, folks. Well, we could probably go all night with just the questions you guys have in Ask.fm and also with people joining in raid call, but we want to respect Gavin's time and also come to a close here. So I want to remind you guys that this show is available on iTunes. So if you guys want to go ahead and check it out, it is available there. It's also on the Android store. You just have to download your favorite Android app. And for podcasting, I use BeyondPod, and then just type in the name Smite Talk. And you can check it out when you're on your way to work, or you're working at work in your cubicle, or at the gym, or anything like that. We just want to have audio only. This is very much just an audio podcast, not really much to see video-wise, unless you want to stare at two handsome nerds. You can see that right here. But if you guys have any additional questions or comments or feedback, please email it to smitehtalk@gmail.com. Special thanks to Hi-Rez Studios for having Smite Talk on Smite Game every week at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern. The next show will be next week at 7 p.m. Right here, we're going to have Zombie Unicorn on. She is a female streamer and content provider. And in the meantime, I guess, Gavin, how can people keep up with you? Is it Twitter, Twitch? What would you like people to do?
You can follow me on Twitter at HiRezGavin. Most of my posts are about goofy office stuff and the art show. That's pretty much what I use my Twitter for.
Okay.
So if you want to keep up with the art show, I occasionally do ask questions about how you guys feel the streams are going, and all that stuff. Occasionally, I remember once I found a Artemis 2012 skin in my shoe.
Once.
And yeah, I gave that away. So yeah, random stuff on my Twitter. So yeah, do that. But that's a good way to keep in contact with what I'm doing and a general more community feel for what Hi-Rez is.
Okay, cool. Without a doubt, we're very happy. By the way, I saw your hands there. Chat got what they asked for. Anyways, folks, we appreciate you guys coming on, without a doubt, once again, and coming to hang out with us. Shout out to everybody in Raid Call that called in. You guys will not believe the amount of people that do get on Raid Call. They get in line like they want to be on the show, and then I say, are you ready? And they're like, I'm too nervous, and they log off. So shout outs to the people that do come on and ask the questions. And then, if that doesn't work for you guys, the ask.fm link that we do provide is great as well. Once again, I'll see you guys next week at 7 p.m. Eastern right here on Smite Game with Zombie Unicorn. If you guys want to hang out, I'll be back in about 5-10 minutes max, and I will be doing viewer games between now and 10 p.m. Eastern. So see you guys all then. Take care.